Welcome back, YouTube. I am Evil Squeegee. This is DMPC, the show where I am both the DM and the PC. This is episode 3. Last time, before we get started, like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell, etc. You know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. Everybody knows what you're doing. Awkward, silent, staring. Okay, now that you got this out of the way, in our last episode, we had we woke up in a dungeon cell. No, that was not the last episode. The last episode was our escape from the cultist lair. It's been about a week for me since that episode, so my memory is a little hazy. But we were escorted from our cell to a ritual chamber where the cultists were performing a sacrifice, and we stopped the sacrifice, defeated the cultists, and moved through the dungeon until we eventually found Mode Gorstay. Mode Gorstay is a good friend of ours who's an uneducated recluse who had infiltrated the cult in hopes of discovering which members of the cult were from their village, sorry. We freed them from their dungeon cell, and they led us, both me and Christine, both Octavia and Christine were led out of the dungeon and into the wilds of Death's Long Mountains here. Now, before we get going, I wanted to expand this world just a little bit. Let me bring out the Perilous Wilds. Now that we are here, we are going to place some places on this map and do a little bit more world building before we start getting really going here. So let's scroll up here, because I was so excited to play that I didn't finish the world building on session 1, episode 1, and I went right into the gameplay. But now that we've actually escaped the dungeon, it is time to put some places on this map. Starting with the player with the most well-traveled character, that would be me. Each person adds an area, setting, or site to the map. The GM gets to add stuff too. That would also be me. Well, we know so far that there is a village, and the village has to be nearby. So it's got to be within 2 days' travel. Is the village going to be in the mountains, or is it going to be in the Forest of Sorrow? Let's roll odds, Forest of Sorrow, evens in the Death's Long Mountains. Evens, it's going to be in the Death's Long Mountains, so 2 days north would be right here. We've got the village. What is the village's name? What we're going to do is I'm going to bust out another one of my favorite books, Grimworld. Grimworld is a supplement for Dungeon World that contains a lot of grimdark fantasy elements to it. It doesn't add any extra moves. It does add a bunch of classes that we're not using, a ton of monsters, the place generator. So location builder, an adjective place that trait 1 and also has trait 2. So we're gonna roll 7d6. We know that our adjective is 5. 5-1. A silent. We already know that it is it a hamlet or a village? What is the next 4? It's going to be a village. A silent village that 4-5 has bizarre history, and also 3-6 has a curse of an eternal storm. And we're also going to bust out the fantasynamegenerators.com. I am not sponsored by fantasynamegenerators.com. I wish I was. I love fantasynamegenerators.com. We are going to search for village names, fantasy town names, dwarven city names, town names, Naruto, mountain names, elven city names, Viking town names. Okay, just town names. Northpass. All right, that makes enough sense. So that's our objective, the village of Northpass, which is perpetually in a storm, and it's got a bizarre history. What kind of bizarre history can Northpass have? I suppose I don't know, but Maud and Christina would both know. It's in Death's Long Mountains. Why would somebody settle in Death's Long Mountains? I suppose it's a mining village. Maybe it has a bizarre history because the mines have something weird about them. Maybe the mines... You know what? Nothing is coming to mind, so let's roll on the portents. Guide rumor. Guide rumor. The first explorer ever to come through Death's Long Mountains found these mines already dug out and abandoned by whatever people had come here first. And it has been storming ever since. And it is rumored that the storms are caused by something in the mines. Okay, so we've done a little bit of world building. I want to add one more region. We got some plains. We've got some swamps. Yeah, I want to define the swamp and this bay. So we have the swamp and the bay. Oh yeah, we're going to Perilous Wilds. Okay, so we roll 1d12 to determine the format of the name. We rolled an 8. The terrain adjective. The swamp. 48. The swamp. 48. 48 is the swamp fell. And then the bay as well. What is the bay's name? And 11. Nouns, adjective, bay. Nouns, adjective, bay. Noun D100. I got a 75. Skull. An 82. Is the Red Skull Bay. So Red Skull Bay, we've built a little bit of the world. We know where we're going. It is time. It is time to begin. So, when we last left off, our adventuring party of Christina, Maud, and myself, Octavia, we had just escaped the cultist lair, and we had no food, we had no rations, no supplies, and we needed to reach 2 days north of us is Northpass, the village with the eternal storm. And that is where we are headed, but we have to actually get there without food or water. This is going to be disastrous. To find out what happens, stay tuned, and let's get this party started. Okay, so the first thing that happens is we want to set off on our journey, which means that we are going to... traveling from place to place. There are special moves for this. In Dungeon World, this is where you would normally use the Perilous Journey move. But because we're using Perilous Wild, they break that move into several moves to kind of like zoom in mechanically on the grid of travel. So that's what we're doing. We're not traveling by a safe route. When you travel through dangerous lands, I'm guessing that the Death's Long Mountains are dangerous lands because they are called Death's Long Mountains and are not on a safe route. Indicate the course that you want to take on the map and ask the GM how far you should be able to get before needing to make camp. If you're exploring with no set destination, indicate which way you want to go. We are trying to get to Northpass right here, so we can zoom in on Northpass just like so. The GM says you can make it 1 day on the map without having to camp, before you have to camp. Oh, forage, when you spend a day seeking food in the wild. Oh, man. Oh, it's wisdom roll though. Ooh. Okay, that's not good. I think before we head out on our actual journey, we're going to forage because we have no food. Also, I think now might be a time I might swear a quest I was thinking that might help me here, because one of the benefits I can take on a quest is not needing food or rations. And there are 3 mouths to feed here, and I can eliminate one of them. When you dedicate yourself to a mission through prayer and ritual cleansing, state what you set out to do. Slay blank, a great blight of the land. Defend blank from the iniquities that beset them, and discover the truth of blank. So we know that Northpass is infected with cultists. The cultists of Moen, I think. Moen, the goddess of night. So this is the cult of Moen that has infected Northpass. And we know that because that's how Maud got caught. Maud infiltrated the cult. I'm going to say I am going to defend Northpass from the iniquities that beset them. Choose up to 2 boons. An unwavering sense of direction to blank. Invulnerability to blank. A mark of divine authority. Senses that pierce lies. A voice that transcends language. And freedom from hunger, thirst, and sleep. I'm going to take freedom from hunger, thirst, and sleep, and I'm going to take a senses that pierce lies, I think, as well. A sense that pierces lies. Because I'm going to be hunting cultists, and cultists are going to be lying to me that they are just normal people. The GM will then tell you what vow is required of you to maintain your blessing. Let's see. I feel like this time I am going to leave it up to people with a fate token. So anybody who has a fate token in chat, now is your time to pipe up and spend it. It is entirely possible that nobody has one right now, and that's fine. So what we're going to do is we are going to roll. How many options are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're just going to straight up roll 1d6. 2, temperance, forbidden, gluttony in food, drink, and pleasure of the flesh. Well, that suits me fine because I don't need to eat. I don't need to drink. I don't need to sleep. I just need to pass up the pleasures of the flesh. And thus far, Octavia has not proven to be somebody who is very indulgent. But the opportunity hasn't arisen, so I don't know. Octavia doesn't know. Octavia's memory was wiped by the cultists, so we have no idea. She has no idea what kind of person she is. She's going to discover this as she goes along. To roleplay this out, I think that after we've escaped from the cultist lair, we get some distance between us and them just to make certain they're not following us. And when we determine that they aren't following us, Octavia will kind of draw. She doesn't have her sword. They destroyed her gear. So she will kneel down and pray, and she will swear the oath that she is going to defend Northpass from the iniquities that beset it. And Maud's hometown, the hometown of her best friend, is under attack from this cult, under infection from this cult, and she's going to purge that infection. She's going to cleanse the village of its evil, of the influence that Moen is trying to grip it in. And she's going to she'll stand up and kind of heave a sigh of relief as exhaustion just kind of lifts from her shoulders, and the hunger and thirst that had beset her fades into nothingness. But that doesn't stop Christina or Maud from being hungry. So Octavia suggests that perhaps we forage in the mountains to find mushrooms or berries or something worth eating. And I think there are special rules for followers who are going to help on a thing. We're going to go foraging, and that means that it is time for unnatural dice, and I get advantage from Martkos. Now, thank you, Martkos, for your channel support. I appreciate it. We are going to forage And I am getting help from both Maud and Christina here. It is a group effort, so I'm taking the +1 forward to this. I have -1 because my wisdom is -1, so it's just a straight roll twice if we take the highest one. 10! Nice. Nice. Alright. So when I forage, on a 10+, you gain 1d4 rations, plus 1d4 rations you have knowledge and gear needed to trap or hunt. We don't have knowledge and gear needed to trap or hunt, so we just get the 1d4 rations. Please do not roll a 1. 2. That's okay. That'll get us at least 1 day north from here. But before we do that, when you travel through dangerous lands and not on a safe route, indicate the course you want to take on the map and ask the GM how far you should be able to get before needing to make camp. Then choose one party member to scout ahead, one to navigate, and one to navigate, resolving those moves in that order. Well, I'm the only party member that can roll dice because the NPCs neither... Well, actually, these mountains do... they are Christina's home, so she could probably do... What were Christina's stats? Mountain-wise, yeah, so she could do her thing, and in either scout or navigate. Probably going to want her scouting, because scouting is based on wisdom, and wisdom is my worst stat. So we're going to have her do her thing. Now, I'm not using unnatural dice for her because she's not the PC. So she just gets a straight natural roll, and she gets a 10+. On a 10+, choose 2 from the list below. You get the drop on whatever lies ahead. You discern a beneficial aspect of the terrain, such as a shortcut. You make a discovery, or you notice signs of a nearby danger. Ask the GM what it is and what it might signify. I'm going to say that we get the drop on whatever lies ahead, and we discover a shortcut because we've only got 1 day's worth of rations. A shortcut lets us travel 2 days worth of travel in 1 day. But I have to navigate to get that far. So we'll say that, so Christina goes out and heads out up ahead to scout the path, and she finds a cliff with a ledge that we can kind of like walk along that's just wide enough for us to single file travel along, that cuts around something that we would have otherwise had to trudge through, like a treacherous steep hill or something. It takes us less time to go around it than it would for us to go directly through it, which is what we would have done had we not had the mountain-wise Christina scouting for us. So that's what we're going to do. Next up is to navigate, and navigation is going to be me. I'm going to navigate. So when you plot the best course through dangerous or unfamiliar lands, roll +int. What is my int? My intelligence is 9 for a +0. So we're going to pull unnatural dice. It is a miss from Tice. Mark XP and the GM makes a move. We still haven't had the chance to rest. I am at 11 out of 8 experience points to level up, but we haven't had an opportunity to strike camp yet because we didn't want to strike camp so close to the cultist lair, because that would have been bad. If some of them, like, they sent out a scouting party, they could be hunting us. We don't know. The GM makes a move. Let's see. It's the first failure of the session. I want this to be a soft mood. The weather worsens. We're being followed. We must backtrack. I think we are, in fact, being followed by these cultists. I think that's exactly what's happening. They've sent a scouting party to try and recollect their lost prisoners. We are kind of walking along this shortcut to Northpass, and down below us we can see a party of cultists making their way through the same path that we did. Like, they're very tiny at this point because we've climbed way up into the mountains. And we can see way down, and they are following us, but we'll be in Northpass before they catch up to us, unless I roll very poorly for anything to happen in Northpass. So we reach Northpass in 1 day's worth of travel, And the first thing I want to do is I want to find the tavern in Northpass. So as we arrive in Northpass, I figure there's the town watch at the gate. They're not asking for papers, but they are like, "Halt, travelers! What is your business?" And I'll explain that we are weary travelers. We're just looking for a place to rest for the night. Um, and I'm not going to tell him that I'm on a quest to purge his village of a cult, because if he's a member of the cult, then that would be bad. And also, if he doesn't know the cult exists, then that might also be confusing for him. And I don't want to risk not being let into the village. I'm going to rule. There's no need for a roll here. He lets us in. He opens the gate and closes it. I'm going to guess he's not going to let the cultist in unless he is a member of the cult. So we can't trust that he's not. So we have to keep an eye out for ourselves because we are being followed. But I think that as long as we stay in public areas and locked doors and so on, it is unlikely that we are going to find any problems with the cultists here. The storm overhead, big thick thunder clouds with lightning that jumps from cloud to cloud, and it's raining and pouring as we head to, what is the name of the tavern? The first place I'm going is to the tavern. The Boiling Chair. That's a name for a tavern. That's a choice. So we rush through through the village streets and to escape the rain, and we find the Boiling Chair, which is a log, much like the rest of the buildings in this village. It is a log cabin like structure that's very, very large and has a sign out front with a chair that's got bubbles underneath it, and it's labeled the Boiling Chair. And we don't stop to admire because it's raining outside and the streets are dark and we don't want to get caught by these cultists. So we head in to the Boiling Chair. We immediately, like, I picture, like, is it the kind of place where strangers entering the tavern causes all the music and commotion to stop? Yes, but it resumes very quickly. So as we enter this tavern, the tavern is lit by candles, and there's people sitting at the tables playing a game of cards, maybe some Three Dragon Ante. So we enter this tavern, and all the commotion stops, and all the heads turn to look at us. And we kind of, like, look around, pause, and they recognize Maud, so they just kind of go back to whatever they were doing, and the piano starts playing again. And the thunder and lightning flash behind us and cast our long shadows into the tavern as we head up to the bar. Now, I want to know, who is the bartender? NPC modifier D100 is going to be 11. The bartender is a lively 37. A lively 37. A lively sorcerer. So, you know how, like, the typical bartender is always cleaning a mug with a rag when you walk up? I envision, instead of cleaning a mug with a rag, this bartender is sitting and kind of, like, leaning and concentrating. And there are several mugs with several rags being cleaned, like, in midair around him, floating there without obvious hands. The bartender is a lively sorcerer. Okay. And then what is his motivation? 26, 31. 26. 26 is drive. 31. Drive the law. So I envision drive the law. I envision this, maybe the bartender, this is like their day job, and their night job is like some form of law enforcement. Maybe they're a deputy. Or maybe they're keeping an eye out. No, they're keeping an eye out because the deputy to the sheriff of the town comes in here for information all the time. And it's the place where everybody goes. It's a village. It's not a very large settlement. So I imagine that the Boiling Chair is probably the #1 place to just kill an evening. And so the bartender is an informant for the sheriff, which means that the bartender will be very, very aware of all the goings on. But before I start to interrogate the bartender for signs of this cult, Maud, Christina, and I need food, water, something to drink, something to eat, and a nice room to stay in for the evening because I want to level up, damn it. So we walk in, the thunder and lightning flashes and casts our shadows in, and everybody stops and turns, and the bartender turns to us as we approach and says, "How can I help you?" And Octavia walks up and says, "Well, we were hoping to get a meal, something to drink, and a room for the evening." And the bartender, whose name is Abraham Dustby. That's a name. And so Abraham nods and says, "Well, we've got stew on the cheap. Oh man, we don't have any money. How are we?" And like this will dawn on Octavia as soon as he says that he's got stew on the cheap, and she'll rub her face and stop and be like, "Actually, hold on. I don't think we have any cash. We lost it on our travels." And Abraham will kind of look her up and down and say, "Can you work?" And Octavia will nod, and Christina will roll her eyes because Christina likes to slack off. That is her drive. And Maud will nod, and Maud will say, "They're good for it." So our first adventure in Northpass is not to hunt down cultists or clear rats out of a basement or anything of the sort. It is to wash the dishes. And that, I think, is going to be where we end our first episode for today's recording. If you're watching this live, stick around. I'll be right back. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'll have a roughly daily release schedule, so tune in tomorrow for more of DMPC. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and hit the little notification bell so you can get an alert whenever another episode goes live.